Good evening and welcome to the November 6th, 2023 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Stephen Spur and I am chairman of the Summit Zoning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and it has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and a quorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. Please note that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system here at the dais and return it after our meeting. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. Stephanie Sulios is the city employee and the zoning board secretary. Ms. Sulios assists applicants with the preparation of our applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Ms. Sulios also does not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Some applications require 5 affirmative votes to be approved. You will be told which majority will be required before we begin our deliberations. Ms. Sulios, will you please call the roll of the members?
Sure. Chairman Spar?
Here.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Ms. Newell? Here. Mr. Gonzalez is excused. Mr. Mullen is excused. Mr. Millay is excused. Mr. Loikitz is excused. Ms. Toth is excused. Ms. Sager? Here. Mr. Feskins?
Here.
Mr. Yuko is expected but not present. You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Okay. We generally hear the applications in the order they are listed on the agenda, though we try to have each hearing last no more than 30 minutes, and we do understand that some applications are too complex to be heard within that time frame. Each hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain their application and why the variances are needed. Board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board professionals and board members have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about this application. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. After all witnesses have been heard, members of the interested public have their second opportunity to speak. And at that time, you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into executive session where the board members discuss the application and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in the discussion. Most applications are heard and decided in the same evening. If an application requires additional information or testimony that cannot be presented tonight, we will carry your application to another date and will not be decided during this meeting. Krista Anderson, the city's zoning officer, has asked that I remind all applicants that they must carefully read the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision and to pay particular attention to the conditions contained in the resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all conditions in the resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, as it will necessitate additional follow-up from zoning and other city staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision will normally be available 1 month after we have decided the application. Before we get to the public hearings, if you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, we have a couple of changes to the meeting agenda. Let's maybe get the simplest one off the docket first. Not you, sorry, Mr. Wolfson, you're not the simplest one. The first would be 111 Beekman Terrace. The applicants in that case, are they here by chance? Mr. Hamlet? No, anyone? Okay. They've communicated to the board that they wish to have their application carried. We're actually looking for that particular application to carry it to January 4th, 2024. So exciting. But yeah, they've asked for some additional time there. Are there any members of the interested public for that application here? No? Okay. If anyone, yes, you do? If you do ultimately have any questions about the application, you want to stay in close contact with Stephanie Sulios in our office. Tonight we'll likely vote to carry it to be formally heard on January 4th, but we're expecting some further information to be included, potentially regarding a lighting plan, for example. That has yet to be submitted, but we anticipate that coming from the applicants before the next hearing date for that application. Okay, wonderful. All right, so with that, I'd ask for a motion to carry 111 Beekman Terrace without further notice, waiving the time with which the board has to act.
So moved. Second.
And this is, by the way, again, to the January 4th hearing date. So, Stephanie?
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Ms. Newell?
Yes.
Ms. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Chairman Spar?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, that was the easy one. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, or you can go. The next one is, let's talk Kent Place School then. Hello, Mr. Wolfson.
Good evening.
So I think as background, we had concluded in the last meeting the public testimony as well as, frankly, the testimony of the applicant. What we had anticipated to hear this evening was the summation of the applicant's attorney, the deliberation of the board, and then the vote of the board. The board, however, this evening does not have 7 voting members. And is it the right, or what is it, the opportunity of the applicant to be heard by a full voting board? Because we can't offer a full voting board at this point due to absences in that case. I believe Mr. Wolfson is here to confirm that they wish to have the application carried to a further meeting date, which I believe is November 20th. But Mr. Wolfson, you're welcome to
That's
expand a bit.
perfect. We do indeed request that we be carried to the November 20th hearing date at 7:30 p.m. without further notice.
Okay, thank you. And the board will endeavor to offer a 7-member voting board panel, but unfortunately this evening couldn't pull that together, and it was very late notice that we knew that, unfortunately. So thank you for the applicants, and I know many members in the interest of the public here tonight that did want to come and at least observe the board's proceedings. I'll remind you, though, I know there were some questions about this, there is no further testimony to be accepted on the part of the applicant or the public at the future hearing date, and any communication shared with the board via email. If you have questions, you're certainly welcome to contact Ms. Sulios with any questions you might have about material that is available, about proceedings that have occurred before. But the board can only consider in its deliberations material that's presented here at our hearings. So any communications that are shared via email or directed to members of the board is, in a sense, inappropriate, but only in the sense that we can't incorporate that into our deliberations. So I just want to share that reminder. So with that, we'll all hear a motion to carry Kent Place School to November 20th, waiving the time with which the board has to act. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Second from Joe. We'll vote.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Ms. Newell?
Yes.
Ms. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Chairman Spar?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. We'll wait a moment here for anyone that was here this evening for that application. Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, we'll move next down through the reorganized agenda. We can hear first 130 Hobart Avenue. We have the applicants or their attorney here? Yes.
The applicant is not here yet.
Okay, so let's hold that thought. 259 Summit Avenue, how about that? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Mark Blount appearing on behalf of the applicants Ramin and Salma Iqbali.
Okay.
So council, as I'm sure you can see, we're down to 5 members at the moment. You only have a C variance, so you would need 3 to approve. I assume you'd like to proceed at this point?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I may, just a brief introduction to the application. My clients are the owner of 259 Summit Avenue. They're here tonight with proposed improvements of a pool and patio area in the rear yard. The result of those improvements is that they need a C variance for this disturbance of the steep slopes in the rear yard. This particular site has some very unique, specific topography conditions. It is ripe with slopes already that appear to be previously disturbed areas. And in order to put these improvements in the rear yard, a C variance is required. What I propose this evening is to introduce to you the property owner, to give a brief introduction of the family and what is being proposed, then turn it to the project engineer, Mr. Holzman, who will provide testimony on the specific site conditions and the proposed improvements. And finally, if there are any questions that necessitate being addressed, we also have our construction and landscape company, design company, and installer here to answer any questions regarding installation, construction, or any aesthetic questions regarding the pool and patio. So with that, I'd like to call Mr. Ramin Iqbali.
Board members, good evening. I'm Ramin Iqbali. I'm a new resident at 259 Summit Avenue.
And
We're
if
gonna
you
swear
would
you
please
in.
raise
Yes.
your right hand. Do you
Sure.
swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Sure. It's Ramin Iqbali, E-G-H, B as in Bravo, A-L-I.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Iqbali, if you would just give the board a brief introduction of your family, your involvement in the community, and what it is that you're proposing to do with your yard.
Sure. So my wife and our 3 kids, who are 8, 10, and 12, moved into the community last year in August. And we purchased the home at 259 Summit Avenue. Our goal is to make this our permanent home. Our kids are in public school here and thriving. We both have careers here, and we hope to be here at least until we send them off to college, maybe beyond. And the one thing that's really missing from the home is a safe backyard where the kids can spend some time playing, which we currently don't have. It's a little bit dangerous back there for them to play, and I'm very concerned about that. So we're trying to make some improvements to make the home whole so that we can enjoy it, our kids can enjoy it, and our family members who visit can enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, unless there are questions of the, I don't know if you want to open it up to the public.
You may ask. Well, let's ask first, any questions from members of the board for the applicant? None, okay. Are there any members of the interested public here aside from the applicant interested in this application? Okay, so how this will work is essentially after each witness, you have the opportunity to ask questions of that witness, just questions, and then at the conclusion of the applicant's testimony, you'll be able to speak, testify in favor and opposition, share any kind of thoughts at that point. You're not obligated to, but we'll afford you that opportunity, so if I look in your direction, you can jump up if you'd like to, otherwise hang tight. Cool, okay, we'll hear your next witness.
Next, I'd like to call Mr. Holzman.
Okay. Mr. Holzman, we'll swear you in here.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Rudolph Holzman, Holzmann.
Thank you. And can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I have about 20 years' experience in site plans and subdivisions, specializing in lot grading plans, stormwater, and environmental constraints.
Thank you. Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept them?
No questions from the board, we'll accept your credentials.
Thank you. Mr. Holzman, if you could, please describe your involvement with this property and this project.
We've worked closely with the landscape architect contractor to develop a plan for an in-ground pool and patio in the rear yard. And we're here today because of the need for a steep slope variance. The rear yard is characterized with a depression that appears to be like a man-altered, partly natural depression that was one of the main encumbrances of the developing the rear yard of the property. And as part of the initial planning process, the city engineering department gave some good feedback on how to proceed to meet all the city requirements regarding stormwater grading and other items in the ordinance. So we're here with a plan to show how we could grade the site with walls, minimize disturbance. However, we are over the 1,000 square foot threshold of steep slope disturbance. So due to the existing conditions, we're here to ask for a variance for about 5,000 square feet of steep slope disturbance.
Thank you, Mr. Holzman. If you would, kind of, perhaps it may help to refer to the plans to walk the board through the current existing conditions on the property.
Sure. So, on the property, there's a two-story frame house, relatively new. The driveway, garage, and what we're doing is developing the backyard in this area, patio, in-ground pool, surrounded by a wall up to 7 feet high. Structural engineering plans and calculations have also been prepared for the walls and the pool itself. You can see we proposed some drywall banks to offset some of the fill and disturbance to that steep slope area and create, what we're doing here is creating a usable rear yard that's essentially a flatter area as opposed to what exists now, which is a steep bowl, which provides some, again, stormwater volume, but we've offset that with mostly with underground dry wells. As part of the project also, the orange line here is pool enclosure. The green is the low-level landscaping above the walls, which we feel presents a barrier as opposed to having a fence at the top of the wall itself.
And Mr. Holzman, you note on your plans there's only one variance being sought. Can you confirm that all of the other bulk requirements in the zone are met?
Yes, as far as setbacks, coverage, all of those items are tabulated in the zoning schedule for the R25 zone and are conforming.
Thank you. And to the best of your professional ability, can you determine whether or not the slopes that are existing had previously been disturbed during the original development of the property?
Some of them have, and some of them were likely outside of the recent development, but it's likely that the lot contains all man-altered steep slopes.
Thank you. Now, you had mentioned the dry well system. Could you go into a little bit more detail about the location and how the collection of the water is going to work from the proposed improvements?
Yeah, we took into account all of the area that would drain to this particular location, and we offset that volume, including some of the rear yard from adjacent properties, by providing that volume. And there's similar structures to what was built to accommodate the roof and driveway associated with the recent lot development of the house. Another item that exists on the site is a pass-through drainage pipe, which will be maintained, that provides drainage of the adjacent lot and some of the rear yards within the block of Summit Avenue.
And is it your testimony, Mr. Holzman, that the resulting development, the stormwater collection condition will improve as a result of this dry well and related systems?
We could expect less erosion and no adverse impacts to any of the surrounding properties based on the design of the layout.
Thank you. There was a comment in one of the review reports about roof leader drains. Could you address that issue?
Yeah, one of those comments just came in as far as, identifying some of the existing roof leaders and overflows from the existing dry well banks. So those will need to be relocated around the pool area, right through the patio, and maintain the same discharge point. So that will be accomplished during construction, and it's noted on the plans also.
Okay, thank you. And in the review reports, there was also some question regarding the height of the retaining walls. Could you address that?
Yeah, for the walls that are over 4 feet, structural calculations are required, and an engineering firm prepared detailed plans to show both the pool wall itself and the retaining walls around the pool. And one of the things we could note is that the bottom of the pool is a minimum of, including the stone underneath the pool itself, is a minimum of 4 feet clearance from where we expect the top of the existing drainage pipe to be. So we don't expect any conflicts in that realm.
Thank you. And the maximum height of the wall does not exceed 10 feet?
No, not. It's 7 feet from the ground to top of wall, not including a safety fence, which at this time we don't believe is proposed. We don't believe is required as part of the approved plan.
But you did mention that at the top of the wall surrounding the pool, there are planters that are proposed that in effect act as if they were in fence.
But yeah, by not having usable area at the top of the wall and limiting access to there, that's an item that could be considered an effective barrier. Should the board and its professionals agree to that?
Thank you. And could you address the fencing throughout the balance of the property?
Well, the orange fence is minimum 4-foot high pool code fence. We're also proposing some fencing right around the pool equipment pad itself and some landscape screening, which would be internal to the site, located here behind the proposed pool. In addition, there's some fencing on chain link fence on neighboring properties. We're proposing a complete new fencing system as part of this site's pool enclosure.
And the fence will also have the locking gates as well?
Self-latching gates.
Is there any lighting that's being proposed as part of this project?
As part of this plan, no, there's some internal lighting in the pool itself, but there's no overhead lighting, and we don't expect any mounted lighting. There's nothing proposed that would spill over to any adjacent properties as part of this plan.
Thank you. Now, in the review reports, there were some comments about tree removal, and those trees that are being removed have been properly identified on the plans.
Yes, I updated the plans. I believe landscape architect contractor worked with an arborist since we initially developed a plan to identify some of the trees that are recommended to be removed. We have a total of 12 shown on this plan, which is an update. And those are indicated on this updated tree schedule, and are also would be clearly shown on our existing conditions plan. Mostly in the backyard and a few along the side have been identified for removal.
And Mr. Halsman, you're aware that the city has an ordinance regarding compensatory trees, tree removal, and the applicant is prepared to comply with that ordinance?
Yeah, we worked with them to develop an updated plan if any proposed trees to offset the removal or help them with the compensatory aspect of meeting the tree ordinance.
Mr. Holzman, is it your testimony that given the topography of this property, improvements such as this could not be done without the disturbance of those steep slopes?
Yes, the existing conditions, the quantity and location of those steep slopes create a hardship for developing the backyard of the site within the allowable setbacks as far as having a flat yard or a pool and patio as shown.
And do you believe, in your opinion, the deviation from those ordinances can be accomplished without substantial detriment to the zone plan, the ordinances?
Yes.
There won't be any aesthetic or visual impact,
No.
or no negative off-site impact on the surrounding area?
No.
no light, noise, drainage impact, negative impact on surrounding areas?
Correct, the plan addresses those with the proposed layout.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Halsman, unless there are any other comments or questions from the reports you'd like to address?
I think that covers the basics, but if there's any other, questions, of course, happy to answer.
Thank you. First, I'll just let the record show that our esteemed colleague, Mr. Tom Yuko, has joined the dais. He'll be able to participate in this discussion, but will not be able to vote as he arrived after the testimony had already begun. And Tom, sorry to spoil the surprise, we will not have 7 voting members for Kent Place School, so we're grateful to have you nonetheless.
Okay.
All right, thank you. With that, before we let the board or the public ask questions of the engineer, Marie, what do you think of this feat of engineering?
Could you just confirm what the revision is on those plans that I'm looking at?
Yes, yeah.
What do you have there?
I created an exhibit today, just basically updating a couple items that have the tree schedule. The proposed fence is now shown. That wasn't, the location wasn't shown in the submitted plans for review.
Okay. So it's a date of, the revision date of today?
Correct.
So the board does not have this in
Now,
front of
this
them,
is
right?
a separate exhibit. The base map would be the submitted plans, and then as described,
So we'd mark this as A1, and Stephanie will want this at the end. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So how about the drainage pipe in relation to the bottom of the retaining wall around the pool? Is there any conflict with that? And I'm concerned about that pipe going underneath there.
Right.
And what can we do to ensure the integrity of that pipe?
I think with the structural engineering plans, they show a footing, and I know we're beneath that footing, so we could possibly have the structural engineer show that clearance from the footing. I know they took it into account. They had this base map for their design, but they could add that in. I know we have some stone underneath the pool itself on top, which would help distribute the load. But as far as where the pipe goes underneath, the 7-foot retaining wall, I think it'd be a similar situation where we're far enough below the bottom of that wall that it wouldn't be an issue. But we could prepare a detail with the structural engineer to show the geometry and any structural elements of the pipe.
Can you just elaborate for that pipe, the significance of that pipe? So that is, as I understand it, like from the testimony of either yourself or perhaps the attorney, it's moving water from adjacent properties, is that correct?
Yeah, it existed prior to development of the lot. It starts as a 20-inch pipe daylighting from the neighbor to the south through their backyard, and at some point it turns into a brick culvert and then discharges at a head wall at the low area of the site in question. So it's carrying, from what I could see, drainage mostly from only that yard itself, but I think historically in the block it might have went this direction up to, I think that's Oxbow. It might have drained a few other yards, rear yard areas, but it looks like that most of those yards are developed with a lot of landscaping, and I don't expect any significant amount of conveyance going through there, but certainly we want to maintain what it's functioning with, how it's functioning right now.
So it is still in active use?
Yeah, from all observation, yeah, where it is right now in the low area of the neighbor's yard.
And then, so I can understand it,
When
at
it's
least.
when it's my time, I'd like to just.
Yeah, we'll give you an opportunity absolutely to chime in. Regarding that pipe though on the applicant's property, it's the applicant's responsibility to maintain its continued function? Is that how this works?
Well, it's in existence prior to this construction, so,
Okay.
yeah, it would be the applicant needs to not affect that condition, which is why some detail was taken to make sure the floor of the pool and the distance between it and the pipe won't have any negative impact on that existing condition.
So who owns the pipe? Is it, I mean, is it part of an easement?
There's no record of an easement that we found, for that pipe.
And I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. It's coming from further up in the neighborhood. You're not exactly sure.
No, the
where-
pipe itself terminates about 20 feet, maybe less from the southerly property line.
Okay, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, because I thought you were pointing to other properties up there that maybe is it
That's
just
the maximum drainage area, I would say. is
Oh, the
3
drainage,
yards.
okay, all right. It wasn't the pipe extending there.
So there isn't a recorded legal document that obligates this. We're just trying to be mindful of this existing condition so that to the extent it's collecting water and distributing it, not having any negative impact.
But to the testimony of the applicant or the attorney on behalf of the applicant, you are testifying that you plan to maintain the functionality of that stormwater control mechanism, as imperfect and aged as it may be. That's at least is that the testimony of the applicant today?
Correct.
Yes.
And the
Okay.
plan indicates as such, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Could you talk about the existing seepage pit that's up by the driveway? I know it's collecting, right now it's collecting the roof drains, and you're saying that that's going, some of them are going to have to be rerouted as part of this construction?
We don't expect the load from the roof to change. I think it's
Right.
the overflow pipe itself we would reroute. Yes.
Okay. And you're having additional driveway area that'll be going on to that. Have you done any calculations on that to see if it can support the additional, I mean, it seems like it's small, but.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a small driveway increase, and we could provide calculations, volumetric and revised plans to confirm that there's adequate volume, which I believe there is within the trial system.
Okay. You might want to consider putting on, and it's not required, but it's a good idea to put it on a driveway drain to have some kind of silt, filter of some sort, just to make sure you don't get any debris in there.
During construction, yeah, absolutely, that'll be proposed, yes.
Okay. Right, there's, in my letter, I had said something about an overhead utility wire that looked like it was in the back. If you're changing the topography of the backyard, I don't know what kind of utility wire it is. I don't know if it's, electric and you're getting too close to it, if you change the grade of the rear yard.
Yeah, our preliminary investigation didn't find any easement there or exactly what that overhead wire is used for. I could say that we're raising the grade about a foot in that area between at the edge of our property. So, and that's less than like the high points that we see kind of at the back corners of the property. So based on that, I would say we're still maintaining the clearance that kind of exists there now as far as the whole line across the property. But I couldn't find an exact measurement that we need to maintain, but just based on that, I feel like the safety and clearance issue is being maintained.
Okay. What is it? There's a utility pole on either corner, it looks like. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or
approximately
is there another
correct.
one in the middle, like, just on the edges?
Yeah, I don't see one mapped in the middle. I think the span is from corner to corner based on the mapping I have.
It's just that the middle would be the place where it's gonna be the closest to the ground,
The
right? With
lowest,
that cat
correct.
area on it, so
Right.
we just
Yes,
wanna
on
make
the
sure
arc.
that we're safe on that. I mean, particularly if it's an electrical line, not sure anybody cares if it's.
Is that something the utility would grow awareness of or and want to investigate?
Right, well,
What's-
that's the thing, is that I think it needs to be coordinated with the utility. I just wanna make sure that,
Mm.
I don't know what it is, I don't know what's back
They
there.
were notified, the utility company, we could follow up on that to see if it's active, yeah, because I can't confirm right now whether that lot is active or not.
Okay, all right. So we had spoken earlier today about the bank of seepage pits that are in the rear yard. It was my misunderstanding from it that they weren't accounting for drainage coming from other areas. I mean, right now, it exists that there's a depression back there and it's collecting drainage from other areas. And I felt that that couldn't be ignored. And we spoke earlier today, he assured me that that was being looked at, and that they were accommodating the drainage that would be going into there from the other properties. Just need to see if there's other things that we haven't discussed. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the planters that are on top of the pool patio? I'm just, what are they? Are they tall enough that somebody can't climb over it? I mean, a 7-foot high wall is a pretty tall wall. And I just wanna make sure that it's not something that, I don't know, somebody's sitting on top of it. Now, a fence isn't something that somebody can sit on top of, but a pool planter is. Can we talk about that a little bit?
To the best of my knowledge, it's just shrubs itself, not
Oh, it's not an actual, it's not an actual planter
Yeah,
box.
it's just low-level plantings itself. Dead fence, but not, I think approximately 1 to 2 feet high. Plantings is probably even higher than that.
Okay.
In mature height.
So, I guess it's not climbable, but.
It's like a buffer that's meant to dissuade access to that area. It's not a row of cactuses or something that's going to prevent.
Right, and Mr. Holzman, the surface of the pool area between the edge of the pool itself and the planter, there isn't space there, for example, for kids to be running around the pool in that area. It's meant to,
Correct, we just have the coating.
Just the
frame itself, and then no walkway proposed around.
What would you expect to see there, Marie?
Well, I would expect to see a fence. It just seems, let me address something that he just said
Please.
before I
Yep.
lose that in
Go
my
ahead.
head. So I'm thinking, so what you're saying is that there's plantings all around the highest point, basically, the highest point of those walls, right? So that, what are we on? The east side of the pool and the north side of the pool is gonna be plantings. And so somebody could really only come out of they can't get out of the pool on that end of the pool. So if a kid's swimming in it,
Yeah, the steps are.
They can't get out.
From the patio part, and I think that's, from what my understanding, it's 5 foot depth, from the detail I have, 5.5 feet for the depth of the pool, along those higher parts of the wall.
okay, so if at the 5-foot end of the pool, nobody can get out of that pool. They have to swim
Yeah,
to the shallow end.
it's laid out that way, right, the deeper end, right, is towards the farther away from the house and patio.
Is there a reason why there's no fences on the, I mean, I know the aesthetics of it. It's just a pretty tall wall, and especially since there's no area around the walkway for somebody to get out, I don't know.
so
Kids.
what will be in that area, I just confirmed, is a 36-inch boxwood, essentially a wall of boxwoods to prevent anyone from going through that to the edge of the wall.
A wall
A
of
box
plantings
with-
that are,
plantings,
they're
the
planted
boxwoods.
down at coping level.
36 inches high.
They'll be planted in at 36 inches high?
Yes.
But-
I guess we have another witness.
We have a landscape architect
Correct.
coming?
We can
Okay.
have Mr. Bruno come up and clarify that.
Maybe just to conclude that thought, though, if we were to put a fence there, Marie, we would expect at least a 36-inch fence, just to, I think.
Right, I mean, a pool safety fence,
Safety
yeah, right,
fence.
right.
Okay.
Doesn't building code already give us above a 4-foot high fence is required?
under the retaining wall?
Yeah, on a, well, that is true too. I mean, you've got building codes that are gonna say what you can and cannot do above there, you know, so I may be,
Just makes it,
I'm.
follow building code.
It's not
Right.
necessarily
And
discretionary.
do we
question.
have a picture of exactly what we're looking at? Because this site plan, I feel like, doesn't really show us.
I was gonna ask a
what
question.
we're- Am I missing a picture?
Right. So I had a question along those lines. If I'm reading these plans right, the topography slopes north, or south to north, west to east, so diagonally away from the street. And you're essentially asking to take that topography and put a berm in the middle of it to create this pool?
Well, there's already a berm. I mean, I visited the site and there's all kinds of, it's
Undulation?
hilly and it's undulating. There's like pits in all kinds of different directions. It is strange.
Can anybody speak to why that was originally designed that way? Because this house was built within the last 3 years.
Yeah, the berm I think you're referring to is here, it looks like a berm here, and then the depression is back in this area, in the rear yard. I think the original house was built to minimize disturbance and didn't have the intent of providing that usable rear yard and a pool and patio.
You suggested, Mr. Holzman, earlier that that topography was man-made, at least in part. Was it attempted control for stormwater, or is there any purpose to it other than
Yeah,
redistributing fill on the lot?
I really wish I could answer that directly. I just don't have enough data to say to the extent that it was existing or not, and how main altered it was. But we know that culvert has been there for a while. That's evidence that there was an intent to move drainage through that area. So we do know that.
I'll be honest, I don't really understand how the pool is even really designed and where this 7-foot wall is proposed that you're talking about. Is it a 7-foot wall that is on the north side that is kind of holding up the pool?
Yes, that's how I
And
would
that
describe it.
forms like the north side of it, and then is the pool, like flush with the top of the wall?
Yes, that's a.
And then the wall forms the side of the pool. Is that correct?
The wall is offset about 4 feet from the edge of the pool, where we have that landscape.
Okay,
area.
so you
there's
would
two
have-
separate walls. There's the pool wall,
Okay,
and then the wall we're talking about, the 7-foot, which right at the bottom would be down at the existing grade.
and there would be plantings between the edge of the pool, the coping of the pool, and the edge of the wall.
Correct. So the intent is to bring the level of the pool and patio up, basically where you walk out the stoop to the backyard here, and then we level all that off.
And then how about on the east side, the far away side of the pool? Is there a wall there?
That
It's like-
wall starts to climb up a little bit to at this corner here to only about yeah, it's still 7 feet to here, and then it starts coming up to grade here where you could walk out into the yard from basically the patio area here. You walk out then downhill to a lower level area where part of that depression is still, but that lower level area in the back
So
is.
the whole
right.
pool is kind of held up, almost like cantilevered up over a depressed area around it.
The pool's over partly the depressed area, correct, and then also the yard is also some of that low area too. But the yard,
Say that again?
this lower level section of the yard here
Mhm.
is approximately 7 feet lower than the pool.
Okay.
We'll hear it from probably the landscape architect as well, but I'm interested in your perspective. Did you consider putting fencing on the pool level?
It's a consideration, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's something that I think could be discussed with,
Sure. But it's your testimony that, either through consultation with the appropriate code officials or engineers or others that you may be in contact with, that what is proposed here today would meet the building code
I
requirements?
believe it can be interpreted that way.
Can be interpreted, okay. Marie, anything else you want to flag?
No, not at this time.
Is there, in your opinion, from what you've seen for stormwater management, would it be appropriate for us to condition the application on presentation of a proper stormwater management plan? I feel like we're gonna ask them for us to retain drainage jurisdiction, but would you wanna see a more detailed plan of the stormwater controls on the
Well,
site?
They've submitted a stormwater management plan, right?
Correct.
We've already looked at that.
Okay.
So I'm okay with that. I think it might be conditioned on like a means and methods kind of construction to make sure that the integrity of that pipe that goes underneath the pool
Right.
is maintained.
Do you think, though, the means and method, the intent of that pipe is sufficiently articulated in the stormwater management plan that has been presented?
No,
It has not?
no,
Okay.
that is not. The
Okay.
stormwater management plan was necessary to design the seepage pit
Okay.
bank that is in the rear yard.
Okay.
But there was nothing in the stormwater management plan for that pipe.
So then I have 3 conditions. Acceptance of the engineer's letter, which is standard for us, just to capture all orders, if that's acceptable. The second would be for submission of called a revised stormwater management plan, inclusive of this particular drainage element, this pipe, respecting the intent of what it's meant to continue if the application is approved. And then the third would be the board retaining drainage jurisdiction for a 2-year time period, as stormwater management is obviously of concern for this property. I think whether or not a stormwater management plan was incorporated or not, we would want to retain that. Do those?
I think we might also be looking for confirmation that the utility line is not going to be interfered with as a result of the application.
Sure. Are those 4 conditions acceptable for the board's consideration?
Yes, they were.
Okay, excellent.
I have one.
Yeah, please.
I got confused in here. At one point, did I actually hear that the pool was 7 feet deep and there was no way to get out of it except into bushes?
5 feet deep, and there was nowhere to get out of it.
5 feet
Yeah,
deep?
5 feet at the end,
Maximum
right?
water depth is about 5.5, 5 feet.
And there's no way to get out onto the wall or
In the deep part.
in the deep section, there's no way to get out? And we're allowing that? I can't see the Board of
Actually,
Health
by
allowing that.
code, I'm not sure, well, you would need like a corner seat in the deep end, and then, which would allow you to step up onto the coping,
Onto something.
or just to
I'm
be
thinking
able
of a
to
kid
rest,
just learning to
yeah.
swim going, sorry, I'm not willing to
But you don't necessarily have
accept
to get
that.
out, you just need to have like a corner seat if you don't have a ladder. And
I
mean,
don't find this safe at all. Done.
I think our plans will show that different level within the pool itself. I don't have it detailed on this plan, but within the pool itself, what
There-
you're kind of referring to.
Yeah, there will be a swim out in that deep end, so.
Okay.
I have one last question. When you went through the design, is there a reason you chose this orientation versus, say, turning the pool 90 degrees?
There were some different layouts that were looked at. I think this one, and maybe the applicant or owner could speak a little bit, or landscape architect about that, but I think this works better with the way the grades work out. I see what you're saying, if you did it more of a horizontal orientation, it would be kind of going into the existing drywall bank is one of the limitations. So we really don't want to touch that part of it. And then certainly, we don't want to go farther north and affect that slope any more than we have to. But
Okay. Any other questions from members of the board for the engineer? Thank you, Marie. Members of the interested public, if you have a question or you have maybe some commentary to offer? Yep, me too. Yep, you can come up. I think we'll swear you in. There's
Yeah.
not too many folks
Makes
here.
sense.
Do you mind, Andy, if we swear them in? I assume
As
you're
long
an
as the
interested
applicants are
neighbor
okay
here.
with it, and do you swear
Accept
affirm
them.
the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Matt Roessler, Roesler. I live next door at 255 Summit Avenue,
Which next door is that?
where the pipe starts,
Where
and,
the pipe starts.
that's the context of my questioning. And I can attest that Ramin and Salma are tremendous people. We love them, and I look forward to their pool being put in so I can use it. My only concern is with the pipe, and a little background on the pipe. I purchased my house also from a builder, and the design of my house is such that my basement is below grade. It's a very wet area. My sump pumps run constantly. The way that my house was designed, the sump pumps let out towards that pipe. My leader drains let out towards that pipe. There are yard drains that let out to that pipe. My fear and my concern is that that pipe were to be damaged and stop working, that my ability to keep my basement dry and my property dry would go away. So I simply care about the pipe being, the integrity of it remaining. And so, yeah, my only questioning, I guess, just to make sure, is that, understanding, do we know what the pipe is made out of? Do we know that the pipe can support the weight? And that's simply it. I mean, the more background on that is, the brick archway seems like it's been there back from the days when this area was mined, right? It's a very old archway. The pipe has been updated because I helped to update it. There was a permit that was taken out within the town, where myself and the two owners prior to Ramin, replaced the pipe with, I believe, a road grade corrugated pipe, but I'm not an engineer. And so I just want to make sure that we feel good, that the weight can be handled, that it will not collapse, and that if it did collapse, there was a way to remedy it.
Right. So I think what you've heard, and you can stay here for a moment, is the board doesn't quite know, but what we've heard is the intent of the applicant to preserve the function of that pipe. And through some elaboration in this revised stormwater management plan, we would get answers to all those kind of questions, whether or not the retaining walls are going to negatively impact the pipe. If it does, how we're going to remediate for it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a bit of trial and error of sorts, but the intention and the testimony of the applicant is that if this were to be approved, the work were to be undertaken, and any negative impact were to come of that pipe, they'd be responsible for addressing it.
That's satisfactory to me, just as long as it's all considered.
Wonderful.
So, thank you.
Anything you'd like to add? Sorry, I don't want to speak for you entirely, but, okay. Thank you. All right. I think we can hear your next witness then.
Yes, thank you. I'd like
Thank
to
you.
call Jason Bruno Design.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Jason Bruno, Bruno.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Sure. I went to college for ornamental horticulture and environmental design. I have a 4-year degree. I'm not a licensed landscape architect in New Jersey. I'm a certified pool builder. Been in the industry doing this for about 25 years.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I guess not being submitted as an expert.
Not as a landscape
No,
architect.
landscape architect. Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bruno, if you would,
Okay.
just, you've heard a lot of testimony about the design of the pool and the wall, and in particular, the section, the high section of the pool with the natural wall, or natural fencing. Can you address that for the board?
Yeah, we were looking at aesthetics. We felt a 30 to 36 inch high evergreen boxwood hedge, winter gem boxwood. After they're planted, they would be about 30 to 36 inch high, would serve as a sufficient barrier to not only visually, but even if you bumped into it, they're pretty dense shrubs, and would just be more aesthetically pleasing than a fence would be. We do that a lot of times on top of, even shorter retaining walls, knee walls, 24-inch high walls, just they serve well as a visual barrier.
And can you talk a little bit about the different aesthetic features of the pool and the patio area? I know there was some testimony from the engineer about the height of the wall, and just aesthetically, and from a landscape point of view, how that will appear.
Sure, so from standing at grade at the pool elevation, looking down out into the yard, you would have that green hedge as a border around most sides of the pool. There would be, I believe, 4-foot water depth and above. You do need a swim out, so we do have to put a swim out in, even though it's technically not a deep end. I believe what you stated was right. I think the water depth was spec'd for like 5 or 5.5 feet. So there would be a swim out in that far end of the pool. And the height of the wall, the client is looking to establish as much lawn as possible for recreation for the children. So around the pool equipment below the wall, we would be looking to screen that with both a fence, a solid type privacy fence, and some evergreen shrubs around that, just to soften the look of the fence. We would probably be proposing like a parged finish. This is an engineered cinder block wall. So we'll probably do like a parged cement finish on the outside of the wall. So if you're down standing on the lawn area, looking at the face of the wall, it would have a parged cement finish.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all the question.
Do you have a rendering of what this is gonna look like?
Couple more questions for Mr. Bruno. Come back up here. Yep.
We do. I don't think we have it with us. We've done a digital 3D rendering for the client.
Useful for us to see, because we can't really visualize what.
Do you have anything, Rudy?
There's a structural plans in your.
Yeah. So tonight, I think the answer is no. We don't have like or is that what you're referring to, like a 3D visual?
That'd be nice. Usually we get something that you can see the finished product of what it will look like.
We do have that. It's just not with us tonight, so.
Do you have any comment on the forester's report?
I do. A lot of the trees in question or that we're requesting to remove are tulip poplars, some of the larger ones. The tops, the canopies, one has been struck by lightning. There's a lot of large dead limbs up in the canopy. And, I'm sure he would be looking for us to mitigate in some way, and we're not opposed to that. We'll try and fit whatever we can on the property and comply with whatever his requests are. But there are some large trees that don't have very full canopies in very close proximity to the house. So there's safety concerns.
Would you object to the submission of a landscaping plan for review and approval by Mr. Linson, just to address some of the more art to this, especially around the tree canopy component?
No, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, that's acceptable? Okay. Any other questions from members of the board for Mr. Bruno?
Not so much a question. I hesitate to ask because I wasn't here at the beginning, but I noticed part of Mr. Linson's comment is the tree canopy loss, should this proposal be approved, cannot be replaced on this property. So I wonder if it's possible to come up with a plan that would satisfy him.
I guess it would depend on the quantity of trees. There are spaces on the property where we can certainly fit some shade trees, both in the front and backyard, but depending on what the quantities are, we'll do our best to fit what we can. So.
I mean, I can't recall ever seeing such negative comments from Mr. Linson about it, to be honest.
I'll also point out, we do have the provision in the code, it's not within the zoning provisions itself, but there's a tree removal and replacement program. It specifies that if you're removing significant tree, and I forget the measurement off the top of my head, then it has to be either replaced on the site, or if it cannot be replaced on the site, there's a fee to pay for the replacement in another location. So we're not granting any relief from that tree removal and replacement provision. The applicants would have to comply with that.
And just to get back to trees for a minute, there was some comment also from the zoning office about some lack of clarity about exactly which trees are removed and provide a tree schedule consistent with the tree removal plan. Would that be part of the landscaping plan you would submit, or?
I believe that has been updated with the current A1 exhibit.
Okay.
We identified these specifics to eliminate any.
Have we seen that?
Mr. Holzman can show you on A1, it was done today, where the clarity was provided on which trees are being removed.
If I may just cut to the chase. May I cut to the chase?
Yeah.
It may be in your interest to carry the application to a future date, to present the 3D renderings, for example, to present a more robust landscaping plan that directly address Mr. Linson's concerns. And then I would ask, at least personally, and I think other members of the board may be interested as well, is a more affirmative statement from the building code officials about the acceptability of this 36-inch boxwood substitute for fencing. I don't know if there's any other items to call out there, but I'm just concerned that we're not going to be able to work our way through those, and I'd hate to see what could be an acceptable application ground to a halt today.
Understood. If you give me a minute to confer with
Yeah,
my client.
let's give you a couple moments. You can speak there. Thank you.
Good suggestion.
Mr. Chairman, I've conferred with Mr. Igbali, and we certainly would consent to carry the application to the next available meeting. We'll present the 3D renderings to show you and give you a better feel for what it is that we're doing.
Okay. Before we may offer that motion, next date would be January 4th, 2024. So apologies for that, but this is a busy spot here. I would just ask members of the interested public, are there any other questions that you had that you would want the applicant to see addressed? Okay. Just the pipe. All right. Loud and clear on the pipe. And we apologize for January 4th, but that's what we've got for you.
Not ideal, but I certainly can appreciate how busy the board is.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, I would ask a motion to carry this application to January 4th, 2024, waiving the time with which the board has to act, and requiring no further notice. Do we have a motion?
Motion to carry.
Carrie, a second?
Second.
Thank you. Get a roll call?
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Feskins,
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Got one more left. Do we have the applicant?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's bring him up. Time are we at? Go to recess? Recess? 5 minutes? No? Yes? Let's push. All right, let's keep going. There we go. All right, you guys went early one night. All right.
We thought we had an early.
Brought all our Kent Play School energy onto the other applications here.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Hillary Oles from Dempsey and Sheehan, representing the applicants Peter and Shannon Karches, owners of property located at 130 Hobart Avenue, Block 2302, Lot 10, in the R43 zone. Since the purchase of their property 2 years ago, the Karches have completed certain upgrades and renovations to the home, including the addition of a family room and a modest second-story addition, both located in the rear of the home. The next phase of the modernization and overall beautification of the property is focused on the outdoor space. This proposal seeks to construct a modest-sized patio, walkways, retaining walls, regrade certain lawn areas, and install landscaping throughout the property and at the Ridge Road streetscape and side property line with the adjoining neighbor on Hobart Avenue. This proposal will improve the functionality of the outdoor space, contain and reduce stormwater runoff, and alleviate the pooling of water on the property, stabilize the areas of steep slope, and protect them from erosion. It will be an aesthetic improvement over existing conditions, and the improvements are consistent with the character and amenities of residences in the neighborhood. The improvements proposed require variance from the city's ordinance regulating disturbance of steep slopes. And the topography of the property slopes from south to north approximately 28 feet, and almost 30% of the property is regulated steep slopes. So the topography, the fact that it's a corner lot, and the location of the existing house creates an exceptional and extraordinary situation that imposes practical difficulty and undue hardship on the applicant in seeking to develop the property as otherwise permitted. The testimony tonight will demonstrate that the proposal advances numerous purposes of zoning, including advancement of the general welfare, provision of light, air, and open space, and the promotion of a desirable visual environment, as well as specifically meeting the purposes of the steep slope ordinance. The testimony will further demonstrate that the disturbance of the areas of regulated steep slopes will neither cause a substantial detriment to the public good, nor a substantial impairment of the intent and purposes of the master plan and zoning ordinance, and that the benefits of this proposal will far outweigh any perceived detriments. The presentation tonight will begin with the applicant, Shannon Karches, followed by the landscape architect, Randy Friesma, and the civil engineer, Peter Korzen. So if the board has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would ask that the applicant be called.
Any questions for the applicant's attorney? Well, you're your first witness then.
Right.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Please.
Yes.
Thank you. State your name, spell your last name.
Shannon Karches, Karches.
Thank you.
Are you the owner with your husband of 130 Hobart Avenue, the property that's the subject of this application?
Yes.
And how long have you owned this residence?
We have owned this since December 2021.
And since the purchase of the property, have any improvements been made to the home?
Yes, we added a family room and a small second-story addition in the back of the house.
And when you purchased the home, can you describe the outdoor space?
Yes. It was sloped and unfunctional, grade change in the backyard, and when we did the work in the back of the house, it, overall, it was just kind of an unsuitable place. We have 3 young children for them to play, and the patio was kind of like too far out to make it usable, and where we had a swing set, there was a lot of water, puddling, I don't know the exact term. And the streetscape wasn't kind of very attractive, so we were trying to beautify the property a little bit.
Excellent. And as a result of the renovation, was, I think you just stated, any of the outdoor space affected?
Yes, there was a small patio and a retaining wall, which were affected by the addition towards the back.
And for the renovation you just spoke about, did you have permission from the city to do the work that you described?
Yes, we received permits for all the work done.
And recognizing the challenges of the property and the condition of the outdoor space, did you consult with any professional to help you design an outdoor space that would meet the needs of your family and improve the aesthetics of the property?
Yes, we asked our architect for a referral, and he referred Courting Landscape Design, and we kind of went to them with the goal of improving the properties, beautifying it, and making it a little more aesthetically pleasing, but mostly also safer and more practical for our 3 young children to play on.
So basically, in the discussions with your landscape architect, what were you and your husband hoping to achieve for your outdoor space?
Just an outdoor space that our kids could play in more, we could use as a family, and that would be, more, I guess, aesthetically pleasing for our neighbors.
And other than a landscape architect, did you retain any other professionals to help you design your project?
We did. An engineer, Peter, I don't know your full title, but I'm looking at my notes, but Peter, who's been incredibly helpful and very knowledgeable.
Excellent. And how did you become aware that your proposal required a steep slope variance?
Peter Gorzen, our civil, yeah. Our engineer, Peter, and our landscape architect advised us based on their conversation with the city and the filing of our landscape plans.
And once you became aware that you needed a variance relief, what did you do?
We retained an attorney and filed a variance application.
Great. And are your landscape architect and civil engineer here tonight to assist you in the presentation?
They are, very kindly, on late night, so I appreciate it.
Excellent. I don't have any more questions.
Do you have any questions?
Very well prepared.
Thank you.
Hearing and seeing no questions from the board for the applicant. So I know we've got Peter, we have a landscape architect here. Anyone else, a member of the interested public for question, or you're here for this application, I presume? No? You, sir, sorry, I'm looking at you over here.
If I choose to speak, I'll do it.
Okay, I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to ask questions if you have them. All right, very well. We'll proceed
Okay.
to the next witness.
If I could call Randy Friesma, the landscape architect.
Okay.
And if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Randy Friesma, Friesema.
Thank you. Can you briefly describe your background and experience?
I have a degree in landscape architecture and a minor in horticulture. I've been working for Cording Landscape Design since 2005. And this is kind of run-of-the-mill of what we see. So,
Licensed as a
Yes.
landscape architect in New Jersey?
yes.
Thank you. Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept your credentials?
Questions? We'll accept your credentials.
Great. Are you familiar with the application and the area and the site?
I am.
And what steps did you take to discharge your responsibilities in this project?
We met with Shannon and Peter in November of last year to start discussing size of spaces, recreational lawn, their goals for the property, and knowing that it was a steep slope site, that, what steps we were going to have to take, that we were going to need a civil engineer, and that it would be a couple of steps to get start to finish.
Excellent. And did you prepare plans as part of that? And were those plans the ones that were filed as part of the application?
We did, and then we did a rendering for tonight.
And can you just give the board a brief background of your involvement kind of with this project?
We came on board near the end of their home renovation, and the tree removals had already been completed with the landscaper. So when we got on board, the site was mostly disturbed in the western portion. So we knew that there was a decent bit of work ahead of us just to clean the place up, let alone get it stabilized and safe for them while they were living there, and ready for construction.
And can you explain to the board some of the challenges that the site presents?
You listed a couple of them earlier. It's being a corner lot, it has different regulations, steep slope, the grade change even just from the back of the house to the western property line. It has the sunken area over on the southern portion of the property where the swing set is, with the most level land where the kids would play. And also that when they did the home renovation, that the patio was basically taken up, so they didn't have any outdoor space.
Okay, and I'm going to ask if you could refer to the exhibit, which I would ask be marked as A1. And is that just a colored rendering of the plans that you have filed?
Yes.
Okay. And can you just walk the board through those plans?
Sure. What we did was tried to keep the functional living space as one larger area, and they could divide it up using furniture for outdoor dining and like soft seating. The kitchen door is right there, and also like their main ingress and egress of the house. So that would be easily used if they wanted to, 12 months a year. And then we needed to do one set of retaining walls that were less than 4 feet, footing to the top of the wall. Then we're doing a gradual slope behind that, and then another entire retaining wall to support the uphill grade change.
Okay, and are you removing the rock wall by the swing set and the patio in the southwest portion of the property?
Yes, we actually removed the patio already. It was kind of a funky shape and was kind of in our way. The other wall we assume will be buried. Since there's such a depressed area, we thought that would be the most efficient and effective, cost-effective spot to put the dry wells, knowing that we would be able to level that off and make that fully usable, basically from Ridge Road, sweeping all the way around the property.
And does your landscape plan contemplate the use of any native trees or plants?
We have some sweet spire right now that another contractor has planted, and they're going to do more perennials, I believe, in the spring. Otherwise, we were trying to get them some separation and 3-season color, and they have a hefty deer population. So we weren't able to do that many, knowing that they were going to think we left out Thanksgiving dinner for them. So we tried to when we can, when it makes sense, but otherwise we're kind of fighting the locals.
And are there any trees proposed to be removed as part of this application?
All of the trees that were going to be removed have been removed, and John gave us permission before, during, and after, and has been to the site.
Okay, excellent. John, you need one.
John Linson, sorry.
Yeah.
First name basis.
And can you describe the lighting that's proposed, and does it comply with the ordinance?
Yes, we have 3 piers drawn on there. We were going to match the same style fixtures that are already on the home. The piers are less than 4 feet tall, and the fixture keeps them much lower than that, much lower than the 10 feet that it's regulated. They are within the property line, and no light should cast outside of it.
And based on the amount and the location of the steep slopes on the property, is there any way to have designed a functional outdoor space that provides
Bless you.
amenities reflective of the custom and vogue in the neighborhood without disturbing the regulated steep slopes?
Just to repair what was already disturbed, we would have hit the 1,000 square feet.
And was the landscape plan designed to promote the purposes of the steep slope ordinance?
Yeah, we knew that that was going to be involved from the beginning. So we actually, one of the first things we did was put up silt fence to protect this massive pile that was there before it reached any of the grading underground drainage that's already on the southern portion by the swing set. And then we tarped it so that there wasn't as much runoff during these insane storms we've been getting. So we tried to do everything in our power to stabilize.
And in your opinion, as a landscape architect, does the proposed plan represent an aesthetic improvement of the property over what currently exists?
Yes.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Marie, anything for the landscape architect, understanding that Peter is going to be up here saying,
Yeah,
Mr. Corzine, sorry,
I-
our first name.
All right, so I'll ask some questions, but I think maybe between the two, I'm gonna take Peter to
Sure.
help you guys answer it. So, because, I noticed, in your landscape plan that you have, you have bluestone in the patio back there.
Mhm.
And I don't see on your plans where the inlets are that are going to take the water to the storm tech chamber, or that, actually, they're just seepage pits, right? Yeah.
Just one seepage pit, yeah. We actually just didn't put them on there because we knew they were on Peter's plan.
Okay.
We just kept it more aesthetic plan versus functional.
Understood. So, and that's why this might be.
Overlap, yeah.
A question that you could answer, because it appears to me that those inlets are gonna be like in the shrubbery or in the gardens or something like that.
That's usually what we prefer, so that we can pitch the bluestone without having a grate in the walkway or somewhere of the circulation pattern. So we typically put it right off the patio, walkway, et cetera, so that the bluestone patio surface pitches correctly and then it doesn't interfere with furniture and,
Okay, so that, and that's where I'm getting at, is
Yeah.
you'll have the bluestone, directing the water to those inlets
Absolutely.
that are off of the walkway
Yeah.
and in a garden area.
Mhm.
And are they gonna be maybe like a domed piece or something to keep all of
the
that
mulch and stuff.
mulch out
Usually
there?
we put like decorative rocks around them,
Okay.
something to kind of, to protect it from like the silt and that'll slow down the mulch in the area. And then otherwise, we would do it on like a weekly basis when the maintenance crew is there, just to make sure that there's nothing that is kind of sneaking through, yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts about maybe putting some screening in there to kind of catch that and help the property owner with the maintenance of those?
We've had that on
Jobs.
other jobs and it actually just collects faster
Okay,
and then the water cools off and goes downhill to the next catch basin or floods out. For whatever reason, the mesh just collects faster.
okay. I'm thinking that the rest of my drainage comments might be,
Sure.
might be directed towards him. Okay, all right, I'll save the rest
Thank
of the comments for Peter. I'm thinking he might be able to answer them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Any questions from the board for our landscape architect? No? Any questions from the interested pub?
I actually have
Sorry,
one.
Jay.
So, can you walk me through the grading behind the proposed seating area, the grading up to that large retaining wall? Why are we adjusting? I mean, it looks like you're modifying the southern portion of that?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
So, when you go beyond the proposed patio, you're putting in a new retaining wall, and then you're grading up to what is a new, larger retaining wall?
It's actually gonna be the same height as the one that's here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what are you doing beyond that? Like, if you keep going towards the back of the property, it's,
That we're not touching, that's all as is. There's a bunch of mature trees up here, mature plantings.
so between the patio that you're proposing with the new wall and that rear retaining wall, that's all, that's existing?
No, from this wall up. Here, we're just gonna put like a 3 to 4% slope on here, just to move the water around.
And just from that area around towards the swing set?
Yeah, because then that's where the tanks will be,
Okay.
so we'll collect it naturally.
And then I just have a question for the homeowner, actually.
Oh, yeah.
How's your view of the swing set from, I know your kitchen goes straight out to the patio. I have young kids, so I'm just looking at that.
Yeah. We see it, so.
Best you can?
Yeah, my husband's office is actually over there, so it's like pretty, there's glass and you can see it there. We put it there initially, because the backyard was so sloped, you couldn't put it in the backyard, so as the grass gets higher, if we can do that. But we can see it from like the living room and stuff on the side, but you can't see it from the kitchen currently.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, we'll hear your next witness.
Next witness.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Peter Korzen, spelled Korzen.
Thank you, and you've appeared before us a number of times, including relatively recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
No, they're current and in good standing.
All right, I imagine we would like to accept you once again.
We will. Welcome back, Mr. Corson.
Thank you. So briefly, I would just like to go over some of the existing conditions on the site. This is in your packet. This is sheet 2 of 3. It's an existing conditions plan, last revised June 6, 2023. So you can see the house location here, approximately in the center of the lot. There's an asphalt driveway that leads out to Ridge Road. The front yard, the south yard with the swing set, and rear yard are lawn. And there are substantial slopes on the property. Shown shaded are the regulated steep slopes, and the total area is a little over 15,000 square feet. There's also the soil area in back of the house. That was the patio that you heard about that was removed as part of the addition project. And by the way, that addition plans submitted in the spring of 2022. It had to do with a one-story addition located right here and a two-story addition at the southwest corner of the house. In addition, what's not there today and what's shown on this survey is a oval slate patio that's been removed, a 27-inch tree next to that's been removed, and a loose slate walkway that leads to the front yard, and that'll be replaced, that walkway, but that's not there right now. You heard a little bit about the swing set. It's in a bowl on the property, so it does collect water, and there's an existing drainage inlet located right there. There's also a Storm Tech recharge chamber system in the front that was constructed based on 2015 plans. That was done by a different engineer. And that was added as a request of the city engineering department. And those plans show that Storm Tech chamber system, it's located based on the plan, but its actual location is probably a little closer to Hobart Avenue where the PVC cleanout is. But it accepts runoff from the driveway. There's a drainage inlet there, and also the downspouts in front of the house. So the front half of the house goes to that system. That's probably it for existing conditions. So I'm going to bring up something that you don't have yet, and that is, I guess you could call it the Phase 1 grading plan.
So we'll mark that as Exhibit A2. And if you could just say what the date.
Absolutely, yes. So this is titled Grading and Soil Erosion Control Plan, Sheet 1 of 3. It's last revised June 6, 2023. This plan was approved by the city engineering department, and it's under a grading permit 23-092, was approved on June 29. And what this plan proposed is a patio, a new patio in the back, a new walkway in the back, retaining walls around that area, and a modified walkway on the north side of the house. In addition, a substantial stormwater management system is proposed, and that is comprised of a dry well system, which is 2 dry wells next to each other, right next to the swing set, and that accepts runoff from the 1 inlets that you've heard about in back of the patio and walkway in the back, and also it accepts runoff from the rear of the house. All of the downspouts from the rear of the house go to that dry well system. With this plan, we kept it under 1,000 square feet of steep slope disturbance. It was 960 square feet. So at that time, a variance was not required. And that includes all of the proposed improvements on this plan. So I'll bring up the current plan, which you have. And this is titled Lot Grading and Soil Erosion and Sediment Control Plan. This is sheet 1 of 3. It's an updated version of the previous plan. It's last revised July 7th, 2023. So as far as the proposed improvements, it includes everything that you just heard me talk about on the previous plan. Patio in the back, the walkway, the wall around that area, the modified walkway on the north side, a dry well system that's been moved slightly, I'll describe that. But it also expands the grading that was not shown on the previous plan. And the purpose of that is to provide usable area in the rear yard and also on the south side where the swing set is. So to answer a question that was brought up before, that's a very steep slope that goes down to the house from the westerly side, westerly property line. So what we're planning on doing is making that less steep, still have some slope towards the house, but relatively flat. And as a result of that, the retaining wall is required at the westerly edge of that. That wall will be a maximum height of 3.5 feet high. Roughly the same height. I believe this one is 3 feet high closer to the house, but it's roughly the same. On top of that wall, the westerly wall, will be some grading just to meet the existing grade, and there will be some steep slope impact up there, but everything is contained contained within that rear yard area, just to make it usable slope so that everybody can enjoy it back there. Also, the secondary area that's proposed for regrading is by the swing set. That's that bowl area that you heard about. So we're proposing to make that a gradual, relatively flat slope from west to east towards Hobart Avenue. The drywall system was positioned a little bit differently on the approved plan. That was down below the swing set towards Hobart Avenue. That's going to be shifted now up closer to the drainage inlets. It's within a steep slope area. So as a result of all this, there is a steep slope total area of disturbance of 5,830 square feet. And that's why we're here. That's the variance. It's listed in the zoning data table in the upper right. It's the same substantial stormwater management system. We're really just changing the grading, and everything's being picked up by that one inlet system and the drywall system. Really no change to that at all. Just a regrading, and some trees are going to be removed also. There are 4 trees proposed on this plan, and also there's that 27-inch tree next to the oval patio, which is currently gone. So I think if nobody has any questions, I'll move on to the comments in the review memos.
Let's move on to comments. Thank you.
Start with Collier's memo of October 19th. I'm just going to hit on the relevant ones. First one is item number 4, and that refers to survey of property. That was the property that was done for the closing for the applicant. It was done before the additions were constructed, before the patio was removed. So that really doesn't represent what's out there. What represents what's out there is the existing conditions plan with the other modification of the slate patio that's been removed. Next one would be item number 8. It has to do with the removal of trees. You heard me discuss that. There's 4 on this plan plus the 27-inch tree that's been removed. Number 9 is the patio and approach walkway. Again, that's the oval patio and the walkway on the south side of the house, and they have both been removed. The walkway on the south side will be replaced. Number 10 has to do with the inlet by the swing set. There's currently the inlet at that low spot. It does have 2 small pipes. I'm not sure what the function of those pipes are. I don't believe that they are connected to the house, since the front of the house goes to that storm tech chamber system, and we're going to be picking up the remainder of the house in the back. So I really can't answer where they go. The inlet itself is very silted, and I don't believe it functions at all, to be honest with you. So our plan is to regrade that again in a west to east direction, so that won't be needed. Next item is the existing storm tech chamber. This is item number 11. You heard about that in the front. Item number 12. Item number 12 is something that was left off this plan, and that has to do with how much of the roof in the back goes to this new drywall system. It was currently shown on the approved plan. I believe it's a little over 2,000 square feet. And as a condition of approval, we'll add that back. That was mine inadvertently not included, so I'll add that back onto this plan. Item number 13 is a construction entrance. This plan disturbs more than 5,000 square feet, so we'll have to go to Somerset Union SCD. And as part of that plan, we'll show a temporary construction entrance up on Ridge Road. There's currently an opening that's been used already, so that's where that'll be. Item number 14 has to do with clean out details on the plan sheets. And I don't believe there's any clean outs proposed, so that's just probably an errant detail, and we'll remove that. Okay, the next memo, I believe, that has comments will be the construction official. And he mentions that we should evaluate whether or not a guard is required on top of the wall, as was mentioned in the previous application. But these walls are all under 4 feet, so there's no guard required for that. He also brings up handrails for the steps, and we do do have some steps proposed, and will comply with the code that was required. Last memo is the Environmental Commission of October 2nd. And they do have the stormwater management comment that mentions permeable pavers as a recommendation and/or rain garden. Well, rain garden wouldn't work because it's just too steep for that, and it really needs a flat area. And it's, it's up to the applicant if she's willing to explore using permeable pavers in the back. It's something for her to consider.
Thank you, Peter. Anything?
I just have one question. Will there be a reduction in the net runoff? Stormwater.
Absolutely. The whole site right now, other than that storm chamber in the front, everything is uncontrolled right now. So it all goes onto the ground. We're drastically improving it.
Great. All right. Marie, did Peter leave you anything?
No, but I just want to confirm to make sure I understood that the slate patio that's shown on your lot grading plan, that's been removed, right? On the plan, it says that it's existing patio is to remain, but I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right.
It's been removed.
It has
And
been
also the
removed, okay.
connecting walkway, which is a loose slate walkway that goes to the front, that's temporarily, that'll be replaced, but the oval patio will not be replaced.
Okay, all right. I think you addressed everything. So the construction entrance, where are you gonna put that? Is that gonna be where the driveway is, where there's a drop curb, or is it going to just have some temporary ramp put
I
on?
don't know if I don't know if there's a drop. The plan was to put it back on Ridge Road, where they have used that already for the construction of the addition. I don't believe there's a drop curb. Maybe there is, but it's not, no, there's no drop curb.
No.
Okay. So there is no drop curb. I don't know if it's acceptable for them to use 2x4s like they do sometimes, and then put the stone pad down.
Right, okay.
So-
And I think, the applicant would just have to make sure that they, repair anything that is damaged in the right of way. That might require some road opening permit if they had to do it, but,
Right, and we do have that note, that standard note.
okay. All right, so I have nothing else.
Okay. Would you accept the engineer's letter as a condition of the application? Okay, excellent. Any questions from members of the board for Mr. Corson? No? No? Okay. Any questions from the interested public for Mr. Corson? Okay, hearing none. Any other witnesses for you this evening?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna go in a whole long summation because we're the only application left here and I think everybody would like to go home, but I just would like to briefly restate what the testimony and evidence demonstrated, that the topography and the existing structure impose an undue hardship and practical difficulty on the applicants, that the proposal will be consistent with the custom and vogue of surrounding residents, will be a drastic aesthetic improvement over the existing conditions and can be accomplished without negatively affecting or impacting the neighborhood health, safety, or welfare. That all erosion, siltation, and surface runoff will be contained. Stormwater management will be improved. That there's no ecological value of any of the steep slopes that are going to be disturbed. And there will be no unstable conditions as a result of the improvements.
Okay. And before we move into our executive session, I would just offer members of the interested public the opportunity to comment on the application if you'd like to. Yep. Thank you. And we're going to swear you in, so we'll just need your name, your address, and Andy will walk you through all that.
Sure.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
My name is Jean-Paul Travers, last name Travers. I'm here representing the owner and interests of 7 Ridge Road, located at the corner of Hobart Avenue, right across the street from Ridge Road.
Are you an attorney?
No,
you the
no,
owner
I'm
of
not
the
an
property?
attorney, no.
You're the owner of the property at 7 Ridge Road?
I am what I said I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are the owner of the property at 7
I
Ridge
did
Road?
not say that.
You represent
representing
the
him.
interests of the owner.
I said, I'll restate what I said. I said I'm representing the owner and interests of 7 Ridge Road.
Counsel, do you object to him being a non-attorney, representing?
If you could clarify representing.
Would it be better if I simply present myself as a member of the public? Why don't we do that? My name is Jean-Paul Travers. I'm a member of the public.
Okay.
What's your address?
Excuse me?
What's your address?
7 Ridge Road.
Okay.
Welcome to the neighborhood. It's a nice place to grow up. Yeah. Okay. I just said, this is a public hearing, so I just want to, make some comments and maybe ask a couple questions. First of all, the timing of all this. The date of the application was back in July. You all are voting on it tonight. Generally, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't seem to be unusual with applications of this type, in Summit. So question number one is, if anyone really could speak to how is this business done and why? Because the work has been going on. I mean, most of this stuff is already done, and I'm confused as to why on the one hand the work would not await the hearing.
So I can chime in slightly to address that. I think we're getting beyond the scope of the application tonight, but applicants, owners, anybody can go in for building permits as long as they comply with the provisions of the zoning code. They don't need a variance to do any of that work. It's only once the scope of the work exceeds any of the code requirements, then they require a variance. They apply for a variance, which the applicants did. So all the prior work was permitted by the construction department, and then once they required variance, that's when they have to appear before the zoning board.
I think I understand. Thank you. Okay, and this is a public hearing again on the application. I guess the only sort of comment that I would make is that, the time is now 9:12, so we've been here 102 minutes, right? Most of us arrived at 7:30. So I urge everyone here to imagine that over the last 102 minutes, every 2 minutes, meaning a total of 51 times, we would have heard the sound of a gas-powered stone-cutting buzzsaw interrupting all of our proceedings, interrupting anything we might be thinking about. And, we've talked about aesthetics and, the applicant spoke about, at one point, aesthetics for the benefit of the neighbors, something along those lines. That's, the lived experience of what this project actually entails and has entailed since, at least the summer and as long as I can remember. You can't overstate that. Okay. So my question, my question is when can we expect that to end, the stone cutting? And I'd welcome an answer, perhaps from Cording.
Actually, tomorrow.
Will all stone cutting end tomorrow? Thank you. And then thirdly, soil erosion, has been a noticeable thing, at the southwest corner of Ridge and Hobart for a while, and in particular, and the business of this application is your business and your problem. One of the things I've noticed is the area, including the right-of-way outside the sidewalk along Ridge Road, has historically been, experienced really striking erosion. So, I get that erosion is an issue. And I understand that would be the responsibility of the city of Summit to, as part of that 10-foot right-of-way to look at that. Can anyone speak to what might be done or what would be an appropriate action or next step? Is anything planned on the area outside the sidewalk? And what can be done about it?
Okay. Maybe we'll have Mr. Corzine, the engineer, speak to that particular question.
So as part of what's shown on this plan, there is a silk fence that's shown with this dashed line here.
Excuse me, I'm speaking on Ridge Road, sorry. The outside the sidewalk along Ridge Road gets tremendous rivulets of
Well, if that's caused by road runoff, that has nothing to do with this application.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're grading from the high location in this general direction, so it's away from Ridge Road. So, So if they require a fence on this side, typically they don't, because it's not a low side of where the work's being done. We will show it on the plan, but we're governed by what they come back with the certification process and tell us what to do.
Can you clarify what you mean by a fence in this
A silt
context?
fence is what you see on construction projects. It's typically about 2 to 3 feet high. It's black. It's around the perimeter of the work zone. In this case, it happens to be at the down gradient side of the work and also along the side of the property.
Thank you. Not being a landscape architect, you know, I have no feedback or concerns with any of your technical plans. Only thing I would say is that I have noticed the exposure of some sort of underlying structure or infrastructure, you know, under that area outside the sidewalk. Is there anything that the City of Summit, surely the City of Summit has capabilities, you know, in this regard. Can anyone speak to, broadly even, as to what those might be?
So we're not, let's see, we're not here as representatives of the City of Summit in that regard, in terms of the maintenance of the right-of-way. That'd be something, and Stephanie could help communicate that within the city administration, for example, that this particular area may need some additional attention and resourcing to address that. I think in focus on the application, maybe Mr. Corzine, you can just reinforce this for the record, is the site as it exists today and the soil erosion issue that is being testified to exist along Ridge Road isn't the product of construction that has recently occurred or would not be further impacted by the project as is proposed tonight. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I don't object. I mean, I don't disagree with what you just said, yeah.
Okay.
I'm nevertheless,
Right.
as I said, it is a public hearing.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for the public to ask questions and receive feedback.
Absolutely. So I think we'll pledge to you at least is communicate back to the city administration this concern. As it regards to this particular application, we've heard the testimony of our attorney, the engineer, landscape architect, et cetera, that this particular condition, I would say even undesirable condition, isn't being exacerbated or certainly wasn't caused by the applicant or the application. It's something I think, as you're appropriately suggesting, needs to be addressed by the City of Summit.
And so who would be an appropriate point of contact for that?
Probably Aaron Schrager.
Okay.
Is probably, I'd point you to him. Sorry, Aaron, if you're watching tonight. But no, he's the appropriate department head within the organization, within the City of Summit.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great. Anything you want to add, Hillary? Sorry, just before
No,
we jump into.
that's okay.
All right, wonderful. All right, with that, Andy, what conditions did we capture?
Just the one, compliance with
Okay.
conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum.
Okay,
Perfect.
wonderful. Who'd like to begin the deliberations? How about Diana? She looked at me. That was her mistake.
I visited the site, and I walked around, and I actually thought that the plan as proposed made a lot of sense. I think, I mean, it's unfortunate, I mean, it sounds like a lot that over 5,000 square feet of steep slopes has to be disturbed, but it seems as though the stormwater runoff plan is going to address the disturbance. Right now, the stormwater is completely unmanaged. It's going to be managed. The property is going to be much more useful and more properly managed after the project is done. And I do think that it is an intelligent approach to what seems like a useful project. And so I would support it.
Okay. Anyone care to add to Diana? Good.
Personally, I like the fact that we saw a plan, an earlier plan, that was 900 square feet, that would have solved some of the problems, but not all of them. And I guess it's because of the recreational needs of the family that we're expanding to 5,000 square feet. So it's a choice of do what we need to do for water control to allow a family to utilize its property well, or don't let them use the property and do it for 950 square feet. So I agree, we should go ahead and side with the family and move forward, and I will support the application.
Anyone care to add anything further from Joe? No? I too could support the application. While the volume, or the scope rather, of the disturbance is substantial, when we look at current versus proposed conditions, I think it very fairly represents improvement for stormwater management, improvement for usability, for aesthetics. It's very thoughtfully constructed, I think a good partnership between the engineer, the landscape architect, and reflecting well the needs of the applicants and likely future owners of the home. So trust that during the construction process, the finalization of this construction project, that we're able to manage the transition of the site back to its new and improved state, addressing wherever possible any other potential tangential issues and sensitive to the concern on Ridge Road, for example, though not tied to this property, where in consultation with the city, for example, if there's any way to positively address that issue, or invite the city to draw attention to it and perhaps take steps themselves, we would certainly welcome that. But for the reasons I stated before, could support the application with the condition as noted, and would ask for a motion to approve accordingly.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right. Stephanie?
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Feskins,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, Stephanie's favorite part of the evening. I have a couple of resolutions to memorialize.
More than a couple. Okay, so the first one we have is 126 Canoe Brook Parkway. That's Felix Yen and Lucy Chen, ZB-23-2200, Block 305, Lot 20. The eligible voting members are Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Malay, Mr. Loikis, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Toad. Okay. And a second?
Second. I think we're it.
Vice Chairman Steiner
Yes.
and Ms. Newell. Yes. The motion carries.
I said I thought we were it.
Okay.
What would have happened if one of them wasn't here?
Well,
Technically, you can have a single voting member approve it, but
Yes, you can do that.
keep going.
Okay, all right, I'll be quick. The next one we have is 10 Lowell Avenue, that's Vicky Grabsis and Renato Torres, ZB-23-2191, Block 503, Lot 19. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Mr. Loikis. We have a motion?
I'll move it, but
I'll second it.
according to this, Scott, Steve's not on it.
Oh, really?
If I'm reading the right motion, he's not on it.
Okay.
This is 10 Lowell.
If I got the wrong one out,
Correct.
I thought it was Torrance.
Hmm? Yeah,
Which one is it?
it's Torres,
Okay, so it's 10 Lowell.
yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't see Steve on the votes on the roll call are me, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Scott, Jay, and Tom Yuko.
Okay, my apologies.
I retract my motion.
So I'll move it.
And I'll pick it up.
Tom will move it. Joe?
Okay. Okay.
How can we be so punchy at 9:30? It's
Vice Chairman Steiner
Yes,
and Mr. Yuko.
Jay's on this too.
Are
Jay.
we- Did I totally mess this one up? I did.
Jay and Tom.
Which one are we talking
Sorry.
about here?
According to this.
10 Lowell.
10
I'm
Lowell.
reading the resolution.
Okay, and Mr.
I
Feskins.
could be wrong, I don't know.
What do you think, Jay? Yes or no?
I'll follow the lead. I'll support the crowd.
Okay. The motion carries. The next one is 20 Evergreen Road, which is Christine and Allison Vicari, ZB-22-2177, Block 1301, Lot 1. The eligible voting members are Vice Chairman Steiner, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Toth, and Mr. Feskins. Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
You heard your name speak up.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I remember
So,
this.
Vice Chairman Steiner
Yes.
and Mr. Feskins.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. The next one we have is 133 Beekman Road. It's Amitha Kumar and Sachin Dev,
To you.
ZB-23-2201, Block 1405, Lot 5. The eligible voting members are Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Toth.
And Mr. Spur, and some ones you mentioned weren't. I have Chairman Spur.
I didn't say Spur.
Yeah, no,
You should.
but he's on the resolution.
Oh.
Chairman Spur, myself, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, and Mr. Lickett.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, wait a minute, I may have two together. This may be my fault.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Okay.
Really savoring
My
this.
fault.
This is what happens when we end early.
Which one is this, 133 Beekman?
Yeah.
Exactly.
133 Beekman, I think I had the wrong one. It's me, Newell, Walter, David,
Yeah,
Eamon, Scott, and Claire.
yep, that's what I said. Thank
My
you.
fault.
No worries, okay.
I
And
had
a
two
second?
together.
Second? Anyone?
So I'll move.
Okay,
Is there anybody else here? I think we have one.
okay.
We have a vote of one.
No,
No,
it's,
Liz and.
Oh,
yeah,
Liz.
there's two. Okay, so Vice Chairman Steiner
Yes,
and Ms. Newell. Okay.
I was
motion
trying for a
carries.
vote of one.
All right, we'll get through it. 47 Hawthorne Place, that's Abdallah and Zenia Simiaka, ZB-23-2195, Block 2003, Lot 14. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Loiketz. Can we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. I'm sorry, who's second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. Chairman Spur?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Ms. Newell? Yes. Okay, the motion carries. The next one is 116 Rotary Drive, Alexandra and Peter McPartlin, ZB-23-2199, Block 5606, Lot 21. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Sager. Can we have
So
a
moved.
motion? Thank you. And a second? Okay, perfect. Chairman Spur?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Ms. Newell?
It's really vodka,
Ms.
right?
Sager?
Yes.
The motion carries. The next one is 10 Midland Terrace, Craig and Margaret Covera, ZB-23-2198, Block 4706, Lot 4. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Sager.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
and the motion carries. Do we have more? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Ms.
So you're
Sager.
just looking for two votes now? is
No,
that-
you were supposed to vote on that one too.
Yes.
Okay, now the motion carries. Okay, just a couple more. 76 Beekman Road, that's David and Julie Warren, ZB-23-2197, Block 1702, Lot 29. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Ms. Newell, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Sager, and Mr. Gonzalez.
I hate to tell this, this is 76 Beekman.
Yeah.
Why is my name on it? What date was this?
Second.
I think I was there. And my name's on the resolution.
Okay.
Were you not there?
It's Spur, Steiner, Newell, Mullen, Lucas, Sager, and Gonzalez.
76.
Were you not there?
What?
Were you not there?
I think I was there,
Okay, so what's the
You're good.
problem?
Because I didn't call him.
because you didn't call the name.
Oh.
I was there and I was being made absent.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll
You're
add
feeling
you.
left out.
I'm sorry. Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Ms. Sager.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Call Mr. Stein.
The next one is 38 Harvey Drive, Joshua Meredith and Lauren Katz, ZB-23-2190, Block 606, Lot 19. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Leggett, and Ms. Sager. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
the motion carries. So our last one is the resolution for extension, and that's 11 Portland Road. That's block 5202, lot 3. That's Brian and Brick Setasia. Do we have a motion?
And I could just give
You just speak to
Oh,
that for a
sorry.
moment
brief
quickly.
explanation. The applicants were approved on July 6, 2022, and cited financial constraints on continuing this construction in the timeframes allowed, so they did ask for an extension, first extension of 1 year through July 6, 2024. So relatively routine request that the board has heard before. If there's any questions, let me know.
No questions. Let's vote.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Motion to extend. Second.
Okay. Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Veskins,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last thing we have are the minutes for October 11th. So can we do a voice vote for the minutes, but we will exclude those who were absent that evening. And our absences were Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Sager, Mr. Malay, and Mr. Feskins. Can I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Listen very
Tom,
carefully
it's you.
there, Tom, it's you.
Oh. Second, yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And then our last are the minutes from October 16th. So we'll do a voice vote, but we will exclude the members who are also excused that evening, which were Vice Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, Ms. Sager, and Mr. Yuko. Can I have a motion?
So
Okay.
moved.
And a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, your final
Comedy act is over.
there you go. Your final public service announcement of the evening is if you haven't already done your civic duty, please remember to vote. Polls are open tomorrow, 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. Otherwise, we'll see you November 20th, 2023.